GitHub Actions are a way to automate your software development workflows. So they're pretty similar to existing continuous integration and continuous deployment tools, commonly known as CI/CD, like Jenkins, CircleCI, TravisCI. One benefit of GitHub Actions is they're actually built into GitHub, and they're largely free for open source projects, meaning they have very high usage limits. You can also use them in private repositories, and currently you can run up to 2,000 minutes per month for free. So you've got 2,000 minutes of compute for free, even for private repositories. And after that, you will be charged. And although the main use case for GitHub Actions is for CI/CD, you can also use them for many general purpose tasks. In effect, you can use them as an extension of your application and perform tasks such as generating aggregate reports, updating a database, sending notifications, and other general data processing tasks. So let me show you a picture. So this is a generic picture of a GitHub action as a general processor. These inputs over here can be an API call. This can be a database call. This can be downloading a file from somewhere, even from another GitHub, a result of another GitHub actions, right? So you can have multiple things going into a GitHub action. And this can be basically any code that you run. So you run some code, and then at the end, you are going to be outputting, one or more files into a release. So let's take a look at how an example of how I'm using a GitHub action. So I have my own repo here, and you can see this repo doesn't really have much README file and basically just GitHub action. So it's largely empty, but as you can see over here, there is a bunch of releases. So let's take a look at this GitHub action that's relevant and see what it's doing. Okay, so let's just go through step by step and explain all of these things. So schedule 40, so every hour on the 40th minute it runs. It checks out this repo. Then it checks out another repo specified by this repository. It sets up Go, which is the programming language of this repo. And then this next part, it actually runs Go mod. It just sets up the Go language, and then it runs this file, command cv generate.go. So this is like where the processing happening. And specifically what this is doing is it's hitting the NVD API, NVD being the National Vulnerability Database, and it's basically downloading all the vulnerabilities and putting them in a file, so that subsequently my application can fetch these files and does not have to itself go to this API or do any additional processing. It can just use those files directly. So this is like the meat of the work is done here. Then we put the date that we will use down here. We need to make a new commit so that the release is ordered properly. And then down here, we actually do the release. There's a special action to do the release. We pick up all these files and we release them. And then in the end, this is optional, but I like to keep my things clean. So I only keep the latest 60 releases. So let's see what it looks like up top. So we go back to the top of our repository. Let's look at our releases. And so this is a release, what a release looks like. It's a bunch of files. It's not a few. There's 53 assets here. So you've got all the files, and then automatically you get the source code that GitHub just adds that. And then you can see the previous releases. Now let's look at the Actions tab to see when it actually runs. So it is running every hour and pretty consistently. It's not failing. It's working pretty well. Okay. And one thing I do want to mention is that GitHub actually monitors GitHub Actions for abusive behavior, specifically for cryptocurrency mining. So one thing to keep that in mind, and just be careful with any process-intensive actions. Thanks for watching.